now we're seeing more than ever. But people are leaving this field.
Yeah.
And working at Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
They leaving mental health where they got degrees in and going to Chick-fil-A and banking because they said, I'm out, I can't do this no more. Yeah. And that's happened, like, it's literally happened. There are so many vacancies just across the board in the mental health field. People don't care that I'm 60,000 deep in student loan debt. They're leaving. It's either I leave now or I'm not going to be good to myself or to my children. And can
So there's a saying, and I'm not speaking of any sort of race, I'm speaking of a color. If it's white, it's not right. Okay?
That part.
So, white bread.
If this was me calling you, one, are you gonna answer the phone? And then after you answer the phone, are you gonna show up?
And then it gave a parameter, amen, on how I need to love her.
Talk about that.
He says Christ loved the church.
He gave his life.
That man up. When that man walks through the door, just tell him, man, look at my man. Come in and give us your fine self. You pushing that man and more.
This is when you know you're dealing with trauma in a light way. You get an envelope in the mailbox, you don't open it, you avoid it. Being avoidant. Hello everyone, I would like to welcome you all back to another healing episode of the Whole Story Sundays. I am your host, Jaquil, the Wholistic One Gilchrist, and today I have two special friends, and they're going to introduce themselves later. But this episode, well, first of all, it's season 5, and I don't know what episode we are on because I have stopped counting at this point. But I will tell you guys that the name of this episode is called Healers Need Healing. And we have like a treat for you all. So before we get started though, I would like to take a brief moment of silence because it is National Gun Violence Awareness Month. Basically for, all who have endured, if you ever lost someone to gun violence. In addition, we have, I believe it was Oklahoma, in addition to Texas and Buffalo. So we've experienced a lot of hardship due to gun violence. So we're going to just take about a 10 to 15 minute pause to just give our respects to those families and those who lost their lives. Okay, so y'all, I'm gonna have my guests introduce themselves. Who want to start first?
Start first. Yes, the man will start first. Hello, everyone. My name is Taisha Amos. I am the calm one. I am a resident and counselor. Yeah. Soon to be licensed. Yes, and I am part of the triple threat.
Yes, ma'am. These are my best friends, y'all. Y'all go. Okay.
Hello, I am Charlicia Boone. I am also a resident in counseling. I am also almost licensed, and I have been in the mental health field for almost 10 years. And I'm happy to be here, and I am also a part of the triple prayer.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, y'all. And now y'all know who I am, Jaquil, the Holistic One Gilchrist. And I wanted to talk about Healers Need Healing because I've been working in mental health myself since 2016. So I don't know how many years that is. I think it's maybe about 7-ish. I don't know. But it's been a while. And, in a lot of the agencies that I work at, I've noticed where you'll see a lot of mental health professionals are pouring out. And we pour out at very large capacities. And I talk a lot about mental health on this podcast, but I never really talk about the mental health professionals' mental health. So I brought these two ladies on today because I know that they have so much to share. There's a scripture in the Bible that says the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. And we're experiencing this actually right now in mental health where there are not a lot of workers. If you guys are wondering why, maybe you're on a wait list for a therapist, if you're wondering why, you're in crisis but you're not getting services, I want to vouch for you that a lot of mental health professionals are burnt out. They're burnt out simply because of treatment within the practices and the agencies that we work for. They're burnt out because their own mental health is declining, and it's just so many other things. So I'm going to go ahead and get into the first question, and it just says, the definition of healer is a person or something that alleviates the stress or anguish. Many mental health professionals are dealing with their own mental health issues. Expound on why this is detrimental to the people we service.
Okay, I'll go first. I feel like as a mental health professional, like I have to take that important. Like that, my own mental health is important. And to me, it's imperative that I get myself in check and reflect on myself if there's some things that's going on with me mentally. And I feel as though that I will be doing a disservice to our clients if I refuse to acknowledge that.
Come on.
And let's talk about the code of ethics.
Uh-oh.
So, according to the code of ethics, Section A, the counseling relationship. So it's A4A is actually the section. Avoiding harm. Counselors act to avoid harming their clients, trainees, and research participants, and to minimize or to remedy an unavoidable or unanticipated harm. And then Section C, C2G, impairment. Counselors are alert to the signs of impairment from their own physical, mental, or emotional problems and refrain from offering or providing professional services. So it's in our code of ethics to not even practice if we're impaired.
Oh my God. Did y'all hear what she just said? So we follow a code of ethics like any other field that is supposed to be licensed or follow a state board or whatever the case may be. And honestly, it's called do no harm. So if we are in distress, right, we, like she just said, are not really supposed to practice. We're supposed to take a break back from the field just to regroup and get our minds together. So if you're ever getting mental health assistance, and while getting that mental health assistance, you feel like you're getting subpar service, it's okay to step away from that therapist, that mental health professional, and say, look, this is not working for me.
Right.
Yep. Right. So you finished with your question?
Yeah.
Thank you for pulling out the whole ethics on us.
That's right. And I got the ethics on the side.
And she got the code of ethics too.
So for me, I also thought about a term that's also a part of ethics and things like that. And the term that I thought about was countertransference. So for me, countertransference is the process in which a mental health professional will place their thoughts or feelings onto their client.
Come on.
And so an example of this can be, let's say I had a client that comes into session and that particular client has daddy issues.
Oh Lord.
And let's say that's pretty much a trigger for me because I'm working through my own daddy issues.
Okay.
So if I, as a professional, have not, healed or taken the steps that I need to kind of work through that, I can be in session and feel a certain type of way. And that session, even if it's not intentional, it can kind of become about me.
Yeah.
Because I'm supposed to be helping my client heal, but I'm constantly triggered. Maybe by something that the client says, and even like I said, it can be unintentional. I can be taking things out on my client.
My God.
So again, this is why it's very important as professionals that we stay on top of our own mental health, because we set the tone for all of our sessions. So even though, we have to meet our clients where they are, again, if we're in sessions bitter, we mad all the time in sessions, that client ain't come back.
No, they're not. Exactly.
And, for us, we know as mental health professionals, building a rapport and setting a positive tone for our client is really the foundation. Our skills are important, but really our skills come secondary. Number one is building a healthy rapport before we can start to do any work.
My God. I want to say something. I want to take a moment to share a testimony. And I probably wasn't going to talk about this, but I am going to talk about it. So maybe about a month or two, I was debating quitting mental health they know this because I called them and they snatched my wig back and kind of just got me all the way together and was like, no, we're not doing that. We're gonna regroup and see what needs to happen. And my reasoning for doing that was because my mental health was declining. When I say my mental health was declining, that looked like anxiety for me. So it was pretty much one of those things where everything that I work for, everything, and I know for a fact that mental health is my passion and it's what God called me to do. I was going to leave the field simply because I just felt like I wasn't of effect to anyone. And I didn't feel like I was impacting anyone because of my own personal mental health. I said all of that to say, to any mental health professional who's watching this, if you get to a point in this field where you feel like you want to quit it all, sometimes it is good to take a step back, but then sometimes you got to realize it might just be where you're working at, or you need to go get your own personal mental health situations in order. Because it's hard to do our job and pour at the capacity that we do without pouring into yourself first. All right, so number 2, many mental health professionals work in adverse working environments. Can you share the deficits that you have seen with leadership in mental health agencies? Who's going first on this? Okay.
So the deficits that I've seen in work environments, and honestly, this has been like an ongoing thing that I have seen throughout my mental health career. I've seen individuals, let's say an individual might have the letters behind their names, they may have the credentials.
And when they say letters, we're talking about like licensed professional counselors, licensed clinical social work. They might have the masters or, yeah. Okay.
So they might have on paper the credentials, but they don't have the training. They might not have the open mind. And so I believe, this is a personal belief, I believe that just because you have letters or credentials behind your name does not make you an effective leader. That's number 1.
Go ahead.
And the reason for that is because I believe true leadership is about servitude.
Come on.
And there are certain people that, yes, on paper you might be a leader, but you don't have the spirit of servitude.
Come on.
So if you don't have that, it's going to be very difficult for you to be an effective leader.
My God.
And for me, one thing that I've learned, and it's unfortunate, because a lot of the leaders that I've dealt with that I feel like lack true leadership, they look like me.
Yeah.
And I don't mean just color-wise, I mean they're Black women.
They're women.
And for me, you know, as someone coming to the field, that was kind of disheartening for me, because if I'm someone new coming into the field, I'm looking for mentorship. Right. I'm looking for someone that can pour into me. And I'm like, she looks like me, you know, let me ask her some questions. But I learned for a lot of them, it's a crab in a bucket mentality. And what I mean by that is, you know, I have all these years experience, I have all these credentials, I've leveled up. Instead of pouring into someone like me or us, it's like figure out how to get there yourself.
My God.
That, you know, that's very unfortunate. And one of the things that I had to learn early on was not to take it personal. It's not me, it's about them. Something's going on internal with them to where I'm not even trying to be a threat, but because of how I present myself, or because the parties I have, how I speak, I'm a threat to them, and I'm not even trying to be a threat to them.
My God.
So in their mind, I'm not going to pour into you because I already see that you can be a weapon, and I don't want you to come from my position. And in that time, I don't even think about your position.
Right.
I don't even want your position.
Right.
Because that's not even my call.
Right. And you have to know calling and purpose to understand that everybody don't want your position. Yeah. So that was your spiel. Okay, your spiel. I'm listening.
Okay, so when I was writing this question out, I kind of asked myself, where do I start? And then I said, seriously, where? Because it's so many things, and I don't want to sound like a Debbie Downer or anything. It's so many things, so I'm trying to pinpoint maybe like 2 or 3 that's at the top of my list. So just a couple of things that I feel like that kind of stands out is there's the lack of empathy and caring.
In a field where we cater to people's minds, a lot of mental health professionals do not get empathy and caring from the people who are their leaders.
Right. And I feel like we are looked at as bodies. So as long as I'm fulfilling that role as a clinician, outpatient therapist, crisis worker, whatever it may be, assessor, as long as I'm fulfilling that duty, those duties, everything is fine. But the moment I want to take off, oh, it's a problem because now, oh, we have to see what the needs of the team. But what about Taisha that's struggling, that just got triggered because the auntie just passed away? But they look upon that, it's like, okay, well, we'll see if we can see if you can be taken off for the week.
My God.
And so I just feel like we are just bodies to them, and that's it. And so
I'm so triggered. When I hear her say this, it's bringing up some type of emotion. But go ahead.
And your name was here, and I said, Shaquille, please share your experience because I feel like your experience ties into what I say as being a body.
Yeah. So, where do I start? Well, I'm gonna just say this. I'm not gonna name the agency, but I am going to just say what needs to be said. So, I lost my father, y'all know, in 2020. And when I lost my father, I did not realize, well, first of all, we only get 3 days of grievance. But y'all got to understand, that's for immediate family. But we work in mental health. Mental health is not a field where you can come to work on E. You can't come to work on E. I'm just going to be honest. You got to come to work on, like, to a point where I know y'all probably got to pray before y'all should, but we got to pray. We got to spend time with God to get ourselves physically and mentally prepared for our day because we don't know what we're going to take on. We don't know what spirits we're going to encounter. Yeah. Well, I came back to work after 3 days because I didn't have the time. Even though I had plenty of people on my team who wanted to donate time to me just so that I can, take a moment. It was not allowed to me because of like conduct or management issues or something like that. So long story short, basically, when I came back to work, that after those 3 days, I had the pleasure of working with about 3 to 4 clients who all were having daddy issues. So I'm trying to pour into them while still grieving the loss of my father, to a point where I had to call my friends and say, y'all gonna have to pray for me because every single client I've worked with today has had some type of issue with their father, and I only got 3 days worth of grievance time. I know that's standard and that's normal, but the only thing is that you don't really know what you're going to encounter in the field. I don't know what issues I'm gonna hear that day. Another time, me and my friend, my good friend Kim, who we work together at almost every agency I've worked at. That's crazy. Me and her were exposed, and a couple of other coworkers took COVID. And we didn't get COVID, but the only way we had found out that this particular client had COVID was due to the fact that, what was it? Oh, the ambulance came when Kim was about to do her visit. Or leaving her visit. Yeah. So we had to come out of our beautiful pockets for $983 or of some sort. And long story short, short story long, basically we stayed in the hotel room for that whole entire week to be told that we were not going to get reimbursed, but we still had to perform our job duties. And they informed us that it wasn't, how did we know that we got COVID from the job? We didn't catch COVID, but we knew because that client, the ambulance told my friend that the client had COVID. It's been times where I have slaved, worked hours and hours and hours, pouring into clients and things of that nature, just to be, treated badly. Always on the radar for speaking up for the greater good of the team. And this is the stuff I've dealt with at almost every single agency that I've worked at, except for 2. If you speak up in mental health, the devil don't like that, and you become a target. And you get to become a target for challenging them about our mental health, even though we work at a mental health agency.
Right, yeah.
That's my spiel.
Right. And another pattern that I see, Charlize was just talking about it, but I feel like it is a lack of training. So because I have the credentials, they may say, oh, well, Taisha, I may want to put you in leadership. But I may not feel comfortable, first of all.
Yeah.
And then another thing is I may not have enough experience to be in leadership. I'm not saying that I can, but some people just get into that role And I noticed that if you can't lead yourself, how are you going to lead a group of people?
Come on.
And the insecurities, you can see it. It's like oozing out of their pores because they're triggered. They haven't reached out for therapists for their own self. So it's a lack of training too also.
Right. And so that is where we get stuff called malpractice, or you get things where you'll go, y'all might get a mental health professional who's come out to your home, or you visited at a therapy office and they can't help you because really guys, they just don't understand. Honestly, most of the stuff I've learned in this field before supervision, which is just what people who are trying to get licensed get to become licensed, was from friends, or I learned that by being pushed in the ocean, and it was like, are you gonna sink or you gonna swim? Glory to God, I swim. That's just kind of what it was. So, all right. What we on? Number 3. Okay. Wait a minute. Morale is low in many agencies and mental health facilities. Do you feel that leadership training should be mandated?
I'd like to kind of just tap on this a little bit.
Yeah.
The previous question. I do believe that leadership training should be mandated. However, I believe there are also certain things that cannot be taught. So I believe that certain parts of leadership, you can teach it, but I feel like some things, it has to come second nature.
Oh my God, yeah.
And I kind of got ahead of myself in another question where I was talking about servitude as it relates to leadership. You can have all the training in the world. You can be top-notch trained on leadership. But if you're not willing to put yourself in a position, no matter how many credentials you have, no matter how many years of experience you have, if you're not in a position of willingness to put yourself in a servitude type of position to give back, you're not going to ever be a true leader. And I'm speaking from experience. Like, I've had previous leadership positions. I just stepped into another leadership position. And one of the things that I tell my team, coming through the door, because as a leader, taking on a team, especially a team that you don't know, number one is building a rapport. We're going to get to the clients, we're going to get to the clinical side of things, but if I don't build a rapport and get a buy-in from my team, they're not going to be effective on the team. They're not going to respect me. So for me, I believe that one of the ways to help keep that rapport going and that positive morale on my team is, let's say, for example, we already talked about there's a shortage everywhere. Mental health is a huge shortage right now.
Oh my God.
So if there's a shortage on my team, guess who's going to step up? I am. I don't care what title I have. I don't care how many credentials I have behind my name. If I need to go out in the field and see a client, we're going to go see that client. If I have someone new on my team that needs extra training, you know what? Let's hop in the car. Let's go get some field experience together. I'm going to be the one to teach you, because that's what a true leader is. A true leader should never ask their team to do something that they're not willing to do.
My God, you just spoke, and that's called leading like how Jesus would lead, because that's what Jesus did. You know what I'm saying? He didn't just send the disciples out. He went with them and showed them how to be a disciple, how to be a leader, and then they were able to further the cause because of that.
And then one thing as someone that's been in a position like this before is, as a leader, you know, you're in this position, but you'll be amazed at when you humble yourself, you can actually learn.
Come on.
From the people that you're leading.
Come on. Come on.
So I feel like a lot of people, when they go into leadership, they see it as like a power thing.
Yeah.
It's not about that.
Not God.
At least not.
Child.
I see that question.
Okay. Morale is low in many agencies and mental health facilities. Do you feel that leadership training should be mandated?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because I feel like as long as we're on this road that we call life, it's going to be changes. So I think we just need to hop on board and grow.
Come on.
And I don't feel like there's nothing wrong with that. Like, we can learn from anybody, anything, and we should be learning at least, every day. We're never too high up to be like, oh no, I'm not going to learn that, or I'm not going to do that. And it was something that I had wrote down, like a quote, and it's kind of touched on what Charlicia says. If learning is beneath you, growing is beyond you.
Oh my God. My God. Say that one more time.
Okay.
We both said that again. Say that one more time. And say it loud for the people in the back.
If learning is beneath you, growing is beyond you.
Okay. So I got something I want to say. Have y'all noticed, and this is something that Elle said when she came on the podcast. She said it's interesting how a lot of the environments that we're trying to heal our clients from in mental health is the environments that we're in our work environment. So we're healing our clients from trauma, right? We're healing our clients from sexual abuse, from physical abuse, from abandonment issues, rejection, and like the list go on, suicidal thoughts, homicidal thoughts. I could go on and on and on. And in doing that, we go to work after we've poured out. And when we come back into the building, right, or when we check our emails, a lot of mental health professionals are getting cut down. They're getting told how they didn't do this or how they didn't do that. Or because there's a power struggle within them, you understand what I'm saying? Like we're made to feel as if we're inadequate or that we're not doing our jobs to the best of our ability. And it's just interesting how you would think because we work for a mental health agency, you know, you would think morale would be better, but it's low. And then we're pouring out, and I believe the devil is utilizing that as a tactic to keep people from working in the field of mental health. Because he knows if I can get these mental health professionals so beat down, guess what? They won't come. And then you don't have people getting saved, healed, delivered, and set free. You don't have people like us coming in and just planting the seed and knowing for a fact that we're doing the best that we can do. And that's just my skill on that. But anyways, what are your thoughts of people opening agencies without experience or credentials? How do you think this is harming more than helping?
I believe that as mental health professionals, for those of you who don't know, mental health professionals, we have to go through a lot of training. We have to get to get like to a license level, we have to get a bachelor's degree, which is 4 years. Mm-hmm. We have to get a master's degree, that's at least 2 years. Mm-hmm. We have to do what's called we have to do, 2.5.
2.5 to be Jaquil. 2.5 for us. And you Jaquil, it's going to take you about 2.5 years.
And because, you know, we had to stretch ours out because
we were working.
Yeah, at the end of our master's degree, we're required to do an internship.
Yeah.
The thing about internships is we're not to accept pay for those internships. Right. Mm-hmm. So if we're going to fit an internship in one semester, that means we're going to have to dedicate 40 hours a week. Yeah. So for us, we still have to survive. Uh-huh. So a lot of people have to take an extra semester to, you know, do 20 hours of internship and still work full time to still get the bills paid. Uh-huh. Once we graduate with our masters, we have to do what's called a residency. For us as LPs, for us as future licensed professional counselors, so LPCs, our residency requires 4,000 field hours. So that means we have to do 4,000 of face-to-face interaction with clients, plus while we're doing that, 200 hours of supervision. Yep. So that means
we have to pay for out of pocket.
Supervision costs. Okay, that's the bill. But go ahead.
So think about for us, our supervision looks about what would be equivalent to a low end, I won't say low end, but a car payment. Yeah, some of us, depending on the rate. Yeah. Depending on the supervisor, and their credentials, it can look like a car payment.
It could.
So, you know, for agencies, there are some agencies that will pay for it.
Oh, but do me a favor. Can you let them know what we mean by agency, so they can kind of understand what we mean by starting an agency without credentials?
Yeah, I would say. So, for us, you know, there are a few agencies out there that will, like, let's say we can sign a contract to pay for our supervision, but with that comes a commitment. Yeah. So if I sign that contract and say, okay, you're going to pay for my supervision for the next 2 years or however long it takes me to get through my 4,000 hour field work and 200 hours of supervision, plus pass the state board, because there's a state board too.
That costs about $200.
$275 to be exact. If you fail it, you got to pay $275 every time you take it. So if you sign and obligate yourself to that contract, you have to obligate yourself typically at least 2 years to that agency.
Yeah.
The issue with that is, as a mental health professional, the goal is to get licensed.
Yep.
And to do our own thing or to spread our wings.
Yeah.
So if we're thinking from a financial perspective of, trying to save money because times is tight,
Yeah.
is it really worth it to have to pretty much be in a commitment because you don't know what door God is going to open once you're licensed?
Yeah. Don't.
And then there could be, let's say you decide, well, I don't want to really obligate myself anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather pay you back. They can add interest in anything to that.
Come on.
So we choose to pay out of pocket.
Yeah.
So it might mean I have to go out less now.
Yeah.
I have to go out less for the next couple of years. But at least at the end, I'm not bound. I'm free.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I know I got sidetracked about like
No, that's the truth. Y'all need to know how, because I want them to know how passionate we really are about this field. How this is not just something that we're doing just because we woke up one day and said, "Oh, I think I want to go work in mental health and start off making $30,000 a year." No, that's not it. Like, people, we're really passionate about it. For those who are, right, and we want y'all to see like the time and dedication we put into getting these credentials and helping other people.
Yeah. So I kind of gave that background information to kind of lead into the question that you just asked. There are mental health agencies out here that the owner does not have any background in mental health at all.
They were probably a barber or work at a car dealership. I'm just giving random places. I don't know.
So I'm saying that the reason why I went through the credentials is to say we can't just come off the street and say we're going to be a mental health professional today.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So because we can't say that, and as the workers, we are held to such high standards.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that as an owner of a mental health business, I believe that there should be some new regulations that come out that require every owner that has a mental health agency, they should go through the same training that we have to go through.
Yes.
And the reason why I say that is because in our experience, based on what we've experienced,
All three of us at this table.
it appears that, I can't say everybody because we can't do absolutes, but there have been more times than not that it appears that owners, that especially ones who does not have background in mental health, they see dollar signs when they open these agencies.
Right.
And they do not care about your kids, and they do not care about your uncle and your cousin. They just want to get money, and they know that they have Medicaid, and they want to bill. I'm telling the truth. Go ahead.
Mhm. And so it puts us in a hard spot
Yeah.
because we actually care. We're passionate about it. So it's like we're fighting. We're fighting for what's ethically right. When we're looking at the code of ethics, what's morally right, because we have morals. Well, some of us have. So we have morals. We have morals. So it puts us in a situation of, okay, do I follow what my ethics say? Do I follow what my morals and my gut is telling me so I can sleep peacefully at night and risk having tension with the owner or the people at my agency and pretty much risk my job?
My God.
Or do I do everything that's wrong to
Just
keep the
so I can
security
keep
of my
my
job?
Right.
But lose my sleep at night and my peace of mind.
I choose the first option.
I've always chose the first option.
And I have been, so passionate about it. There have been times where I have literally went to a job and I'm like, this might be the day. I don't know what my next job is going to look like. I haven't really been applying yet, but I'm really willing to risk it and quit. To someone on the street, it might look impulsive, like, how you just gonna quit? You got real bills, you got mortgages, like you have real bills.
Ooh, why is this sounding familiar?
You're willing to quit?
Yes, we
I have went home, I never forget one job I went home, I said, listen, I told my husband, I said, we had just closed on our house. That was a big deal. We had been 2 years into our marriage, we had just closed on our house. And it was, my mental health was getting to a place where it was not good. And one thing that I told myself is when I first started in the field, I experienced burnout within my first year or so in the field.
Yeah.
And I told myself I would do everything in my power to not get back to that place.
Right.
And I worked hard to sustain my mental health
Yes.
as an individual and as a mental health professional because I owe that to myself and to my clients. So if that means I have to walk away from a job, it might look impulsive, but if that means I'm going to keep my mental health and my peace, you know what? I'll be okay. I believe that I have enough good deeds and enough seed in the ground.
Come on.
I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Come on.
I'm going to be okay.
Come
and
on.
I just believe that.
My God. Child. Who child? Okay. I got a lot to say, but I'm going to let you go first, Ty. Go ahead.
What I'm about to say, I don't want to like discredit anybody or offend anyone that may have like a mental health agency. But I just feel like you're doing more harm than good. Not earning the degree or certifications or even having the experience. Like, I feel like it's important to know the regulations, the code of ethics, the documentation, the requirements of all of that. So going into like, I'm going to get this business, it's a lot of hard work.
Yes, it is. It's not easy.
It's not.
Yeah.
And I understand, like, getting a business, you want to know how to operate a business, but to have that background as far as mental health, what to do, how to service these clients, because people really need help.
My God.
And I feel like it's just really harming. And so I can give maybe like a couple examples about a mental health agency that I work for. So this is like a mental health skill building agency. So the owner, like I said, not trying to offend anyone, all he had was a GED. And that's not the problem. The comment that he said is, y'all had to go to school for this. And I didn't have to go to school. And I just had my GED. And he said that, and I'm looking at you like, sir, but if it wasn't for us,
Come on.
you wouldn't be running this.
Right.
You have a licensed professional, you have QHPs that's serving your clients at your business.
Right.
So for you to say that,
And that's the
it's
appreciation.
and it's like a slap in the face, like, oh, well, I have this business and I have this money, but y'all had to go to school and get in debt.
And we'll probably pay y'all number 9.
Yeah, yes.
My God.
And yeah. So that statement alone, I'm like, oh wow. But you hired me to do a job that you can't do.
To service the community.
Right.
And it's not about that, but you're making it about that now.
Right.
Okay.
Right. In another example, I had a male client, and so provided mental health skill building to him. So he was like an apartment, he was living in an apartment. So after we were finished, I'm like, okay, so I'll see you next week. These are our scheduled days. And he said, well, you can stop and see me before then. Excuse me? I said, no, these are your scheduled dates. So I'm not thinking. I'm like, these are your scheduled dates.
Yeah.
He was like, no, you can come outside of work. I said, no, that's not what I do. I am your QMHP, your counselor that's trying to help you to become more independent. He didn't get it. So I went to the office and I told the owner what had happened. And he was like, oh, he just want to talk to you. He's a pretty lady. He want to just talk to you. Again, the code of ethics.
We can't
And
do
I'm
that
like,
with our clients. We
no.
can't date our clients.
So that's why it's important to have that background so you know what the ethics say.
Right.
Like, yeah.
Right. Because basically what that's doing harm. Because basically what this
Dual relationship.
and dual relationship, what the owner of that agency was basically saying was, for money, you can go date this client because guess what? I want to keep him at all costs. I don't care what your ethics are. I don't care what your morals are. I need this client to stay in my pocket, and I don't need you to mess it up by not crossing the boundary.
Right.
That's what we go through.
And at the time, I wasn't a resident. I didn't put in my paperwork in, so I'm just like a, QMHP, even though I had graduated, with my master's. And I said, I went to the ethics, and I said, ethically, I can't do that. Well,
Right.
First of all, I wasn't going to do that anyway.
Right.
And the license person said, but you're not licensed yet. As a licensed person, and I said, okay, we got a bigger problem than I thought.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
And it kind of, when you said that, it kind of brought me back to what I was kind of sharing before, like
God.
that job that I was talking about. You know, one of those things that I know we all have experienced. You know, when you kind of speak up or rebuttal things, don't bring up ethics.
You better not.
Because you might as well go ahead and pack your stuff up.
Yeah. Because then they think you're threatening them.
Because, you know, the reason why that job I was speaking about before, you know, I was in a position, I was in a leadership position at that job as well. And so I'm thinking about what my duties are as well as my team. So one thing, you know, as mental health professionals, we have to do what's called an assessment. We have to assess a client to get them enrolled in services. That was one of my tasks. So, you know, myself and my coworker, we're doing all these assessments, getting these clients in, and then it dawns on us, you know, we're doing kind of like taking inventory of our QMHPs. Those are the ones that will be servicing the clients directly. Like, hold on, we're doing all these assessments. We don't have the manpower to service the clients. So not only do we have to do the assessments, we're working, you know, with state funding. So with state funding, one thing about state funding is they make you work for the Medicaid money. So assessment on a good day could be 7 pages.
Yeah.
I have did 11-page assessments, not because I just feel like writing, but because they make it hard to get an approval. And in addition to an assessment, you have to do an authorization for the insurance company, which is a completely different document that can be, again, a good day maybe 4 pages, bad day maybe 7, 8. And they have the right to rebuttal it and say, well, add this information before we will approve it. And even then, we may or may not approve it. So we're going back and forth. We're pretty much working to the bone, getting all these approvals, not knowing that we don't really have the manpower. So me, being the person that I am, I bring that up. So it comes back to me, well, you're going against what your job description says do, because a part of your job description is to do assessment and to get clients in so you can get money. So I don't care if we have manpower or not. You need to push these assessments out. For me, the families that I'm doing assessments with, I'm the first face they know.
Come on.
Yeah.
They're going to call the office. Why has my child not started services? You say it's about this amount of time of turnaround. Why I don't have anybody? So I decided I can't. Ethically, we should not be doing this because each QMHP has a max of their caseload they can have. That is 5. I'm not putting myself in a position. I'm not going to put my team in a position. So I will walk away from this job before I do that. So I decided to put my notice in. I gave them 3.5 weeks as opposed to 2. The next day the next morning, I sent my resignation letter in that night at 9 o'clock. So they wouldn't say I did it on the clock. That next morning, I was greeted by the owner to question my letter and to question why I left. And I let her know why. And I was not backing down.
Oh my God.
So I got a call the next day saying, I know you put a 3.5 week notice in, but you have 24 hours to be out.
What bills to pay?
Because
You gave them a notice.
because I spoke up. Because I pointed them to the ethics. And one thing about me is I keep my ethics in my desk drawer. I highlight sections, and I have no problems with having a discussion with you about it. Because at the end of the day, I'm not willing to put myself and my family in a position that I lose everything that I've worked for your agency, something that I would never reap the benefits of.
So that's, again, what we deal with. And this is the reason why I believe that if you do not have the credentials, you should not have the agency.
Yeah.
And I said that. So expound on how unhealed trauma, rejection, and neglect in a mental health professional can show up in leadership and working with clients, and peers. Who's going first?
Oh, I have a personal experience with that. I didn't write anything down for that, but my experience with that is I had my own direct supervisor. So when you talk about like questioning different things, procedures, policies, and bringing up ethics, in her words was, I thought you trying to trip me up. And I said, listen, I said, I have too much to do to kind of think of, I'm gonna trip this person up today. I'm gonna say this thing. Like, no, I have too much to do. So in my mind, I said, okay, that has nothing to do with me. That's some insecurities that she needs to work on herself.
Yes.
Because she assumed that I was trying to trip her up because I questioned a policy that to me just didn't make sense. Now, if I just need clarity on it, that's fine. I just was like, hey, this doesn't make sense. Can you explain this? And then when I talk about ethics, it's like, oh, you're trying to trip me up.
See what I'm saying?
And so I feel like I get that a lot when it comes to certain managers, some, not all managers, but some. And it's to the point, like I jokingly say, like insecure is oozing out their pores. But seriously, it is. Because anytime that I say something, you take it as a threat.
Oh my God.
And it's not. And I think for me, like, just early on in my career, I wasn't the type of person to kind of like stand up or speak up or say anything. I was just kind of like, okay, But now it's like anything that just doesn't sit well with me, I'm speaking up.
Yeah.
Whether I'm the only person that's saying something or not, I'm going to speak up. And that's not nothing against anyone, but if it just don't sit well with me, I have to sleep at night. I have to have peace at night. So if you think that this is a threat to you, I can direct you to a therapist. Because at this point, it's outside of you.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with you.
And I think for me, it's not only just that though. I think a lot of the times when we're questioning our superiors, it's literally because it's for the client.
Yeah.
It's making sure that we're doing things. I've had people, I've come to managers before telling them, hey, this is a CPS report. This parent is doing this, or that person is whatever. And I've had one situation before where I was told, you don't need to call CPS. As a mandated reporter, which means that if I know for a fact this child is in harm's way, I know for a fact this parent is abusing this child. And if I don't call CPS, guess what? This child has the potential of being hurt to a point where it's beyond what's even imaginable. You see what I'm saying? And I said, well, you're telling me that I don't need to call CPS, and I'm telling you that I'm going to do it. And if that means that I won't have a job tomorrow, that's fine. But what I'm telling you is, you don't control why I feel like this is a CPS report.
And it's not for us to investigate. If we suspect.
Yeah.
And my thing is like, when you bring up CPS or APS, like certain agencies, like, no, stay away because they want to constantly get that money from that family. But we have to answer, to the code of ethics. We have to answer to the board of counseling. And honestly, we have to, when I think about all of this, I'm like, I have to answer to God. So if it don't sit well with me, come on, just outside of the ethics and the board, like, I feel like we get that gut feeling. Like, if something is wrong, it's not for us to investigate. We just want to call CPS and let them do their own thing. And it may not be abuse or neglect, but we did our part.
And it just could be the spirit of discernment. And we have to, and that's what I'm saying about that unhealed trauma of, as a manager, you work in mental health and you're telling me to sweep something under the rug when the whole purpose of mental health is to expose stuff that needs to be addressed. Okay.
And
I'm listening to all ears. Child, this is a lot.
And the things that kind of came to mind when I was kind of processing this question is having mental health professionals, specifically in leadership, that has undealt with internal issues. You're setting yourself up for your team to not respect you. Mm-hmm. You're setting yourself up for your team to not have trust in you, for there to be toxicity amongst the team, amongst the work environment, burnout amongst your team. And ultimately, now we're seeing more than ever, but people are leaving this field.
Yeah. And working at Chick-fil-A. Yeah. They leaving mental health where they got degrees in and going to Chick-fil-A and banking because they said, I'm out, I can't do this no more.
And that's happened Like, it's literally happened. There are so many vacancies just across the board in the mental health field. People don't care that I'm 60,000 deep in student
loan debt.
They're leaving. It's either I leave now or I'm not going to be good to myself or to my children.
And can I say something? And I just want to speak to the audience. And I hope y'all share this. Please share this, y'all. Share this to all around, right? And the reason why I say this is because it goes back to what I said, Charlie C. at the time. It goes back to the fact that the devil is utilizing people in leadership. He's utilizing this. Please pray for us, right? Because I'm about to get a little passionate and emotional, because he does not want mental health professionals to do what mental health professionals are supposed to do, which is heal. He doesn't want us to be passionate about this. We see on the cross, it says, by his stripes we are healed. So that means that God has utilized us, especially if you're a believer and a child of God, right? And a lot of us in this field who really are called are believers, and we were called to the field. Right. And we feel that opposition, we feel those demonic spirits. And what's crazy is a lot of the times it's not coming from our clients. A lot of the times it's coming from the people in higher ups. Right. It would be like a Jesus and Pharisee type situation where you see Jesus coming to expose and heal and get people back on the right track, and the Pharisees looking at him, mocking him, and making him feel like, he's wrong for doing the right thing. And there's so many mental health professionals who I know who do their best. They go out, they exceed. I can name about 10, and I would have still more fingers because it's so many that do so well. And they've either left the field, or they took a break from the field, or they just decided that mental health is no longer for them. They're going to go take a job at Capital One because at least they don't have to have the drama. They know they're not working in their calling. They know they're not working in their purpose, but they don't want to deal with the drama. And that's the reason why I wanted to expose this today, because I'm tired of the field lacking. Right. Simply because people are tired of being mistreated, and we're getting mistreated by the people who should be pouring into us.
Right. And I feel like the enemy goes to leadership because they are the ones that can make decisions.
Yeah.
And so it starts at the top.
Yeah.
And so for when we're kind of like experiencing this, you'll be thinking like, oh, it's from clients because they have a lot of diagnosis, they have behavior problems.
It's not,
but it's from
we love the clients
that I don't know if they have a diagnosis, undocumented diagnosis that's not treated.
Right.
And I do. I feel like the enemy is starting with leadership.
The top.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It's all about, if you really look at it, I'm sitting here listening to show with a lot of them, a lot of questions, but bottom line is, it's all about money.
Yeah, it is.
It's not just about the people's health, but what they're going through, and what you all and others are going through. See, I'm going to walk away from this field because I can't do it anymore because you're going through my emotions yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't walk away, you're going to break down.
Yeah.
And they don't care how much debt you pay up.
No.
They just want the money.
Yeah.
Like you said, that gentleman said, come back at us.
Yeah.
And your boss will ever say to you, because you're pretty face.
Yeah.
So what does it tell you? You're pretty face, so you go out and rock your face and your body and you bring me my money.
Right. Well, that's how we feel. We feel like we're being helped for mental health services. And the reason why I say that is because, Prophet, is not to be funny or nothing, but it's been times where, we went to places where you see a big old Confederate flag. Yeah. You see, we in the country, like it is no cell phone reception, and we're asking as a team, hey, can we partner up? We're women, we're Black women. And you see Sandra Bland, you see George Floyd, they go to these places. And if it wasn't for me being in the state card, they would probably try me. You understand what I'm saying? And they're saying, well, no, we can't do that because we don't have the manpower. Yeah. If we put you guys together, then guess what? What are they going to do? They're not going to be able to get money over here. And guess what? They might not be in the country where they see a Confederate flags, but they might be in the projects at like 7:00 at night, and it's not safe there. Wow. And we're asking, can we double up? Because how can I be therapeutic if I'm feeling unsafe, if I feel like now I'm being threatened. Yeah.
And as women, you should have a male behind you when you go into these certain places that it's not.
But it's a lot of that's a whole nother story. A lot of men are not coming to mental health to work. And then when you do get men to come to mental health to work, the women, because they have unhealed daddy issues or relationship issues, they emasculate them so bad that they run them out of the field. They make them feel this small.
And we have had
They're Jezebels.
we have had male clinicians that we all worked with at a
And they were so great.
Yeah, and they will tell you that the reason why they left that particular agency because of that.
Because the women at top, black women, look just like us, have made them feel this low. And all because of their unhealed trauma. So it's not about the client. Now it's about, I got a problem with you because you're a black man, and for whatever odd reason, I got a problem with black men right now. And so I'm gonna make you feel this small. I don't care how effective and how impactful you are to the client.
It's sick though.
And we need black men in the field because let's be honest, a lot of our clients don't have fathers. Yeah. Well, that was a lot. And I know Boo not finished. Oh, you are? Oh my God. Okay. So is it selfish to continue to work in the field if you are at the point of burnout or compassion fatigue? Do you consider this clinical malpractice?
So I do not think that it's best practice to continue to operate when you are depleted, going from end to cup. Yes, it can be considered clinical malpractice. However, I don't necessarily believe that a mental professional operating in this way, I don't necessarily think that they are doing it intentionally. Yeah. I feel like a lot of times because the passion is there, we feel like, this is our assignment, our calling, this is what we have to do. Lives are dependent on us. We need to put our stuff to the side, pick our stuff up by the bootstraps and figure it out. And we're just operating on adrenaline. We're in autopilot. We're in survival mode because in the back of our mind, we got bills to pay, we got children to take care of. So I believe that a lot of times it stems from that. For some people, it could also be comfortability. I've been in the field for this amount of time. I've been at this job for this amount of time. I'm comfortable. If I walk away from it, if I take a break, what am I going to do? The unknown can be scary. And I just feel like, that's why a lot of people, they may know they're experiencing compassion fatigue or burnout, but they don't really know how to deal with it. They don't know how to handle it. Right. I believe that that's why it's very important to do internal reflection. Do an assessment of yourself. Do journaling. Like techniques that we teach our clients, I know all of us do.
Yeah, we do.
Journaling, all those things. Like, do a check-in with yourself. Like, how am I feeling today? Do I need to go talk to a therapist to kind of dump? Because if I have to do those things to prevent myself from burning out, the reality is we're still young in the game.
Yes, we are. I'm real young. I'm going to retire.
We still have some decades left.
Yes, we do.
So if we're going to survive in this field, we have to make sure that we're doing temperature checks on ourselves so that we can prevent burnout. Because if not, we're not going to be any good to ourselves, and we're going to set ourselves up to pretty much counter transfer, like I talked about earlier, causing harm to our clients or anything. And at the end of the day, we have worked too hard to get to where we are, and we're not even done yet. So even the accomplishments that we have made, is it really worth it to lose all of that over a mistake that we made today during our shift when all we needed was some time off?
All we needed was to take a day off or work or go on vacation or just pray. I don't know. Do something to get yourself back together. That's good. I like that one.
So that's why I believe in PTO.
Paid time off.
and I use it and I advocate for myself. Listen, I don't care if Susie over there has only used 10 hours out of 100 hours for the year. I need 50 hours that I did. I'm letting you know I'm putting this amount of time in. I'm going to follow it up with the email. In my mind, I'm off.
Yeah.
I understand there's a process, there's a protocol. You might approve it, you might not approve it. But as my manager, I'm letting you know this is what I need. I'm giving you the heads up so you go ahead and prepare the team. Charlie still may take some time off because that's what it's for. I understand we have an obligation to serve clients, but it's probably going to be better in a better situation for you to let me take my 4 days off versus risking. Now I'm potentially being a liability to the company if I go out here and service this client in a deficit. And you pretty much force me to work when I'm telling you I need time off.
Come on.
Just give me time.
That's it. I agree. I love it. And I do agree with that. What about yourself? What do you
Yeah,
thought?
it is selfish and it's unethical, actually. So last year, let's give y'all an example. So last year, I met my oldest brother for the first time. So we visited in April. So then in July, I returned back to Savannah to meet up with him. And that trip was very emotional. And that was more emotional than the first trip that we did for the first time. So when I returned back home, I'm like, I'm just off today. Like, I don't know what's going on. And so I scheduled a therapist appointment. And I told my therapist, like, hey, I think it's like while we were talking, a lot of emotions kind of had came up. And I'm just not at my best. And I said, honestly, I need to take the rest of the week off. Like, I know I just returned back from vacation, but mentally, I'm not there. I can't help anyone. So she emailed HR, and I had a week off. And I said, once I get this week off, I feel like I can kind of come back to work. If not, I'll let you know. But I took off, and I had just came back from vacation.
My God. Oh, child. So long story short, you feel that both of you guys feel that in order to prevent compassion fatigue, you need to take that time off to get yourself back in order.
Yeah.
Unapologetic.
Yeah. Don't apologize for needing that time. My God. So how would you pour into yourself as a younger mental health professional? Do you believe that mentorship is a lost art in the current state of the clinical world?
So,
I'm listening.
okay. So if I think I understood this question right, if I could go back in time to my younger self, so I will go back to 2015. And 2015 is where I lost my fiance, Adrian. And so during that time, like, I did take a week off, but that was like for funeral arrangements, things like that. And I returned back to work after that week. And so, you know, I would tell myself it's okay to breathe.
My God.
And, you know, please don't allow, you know, society, work, your family to dictate how you should breathe. And needing help is okay.
Yeah.
And the reason why it took me so long to kind of get through and accept Adrian's death is because I was trying to avoid it.
My God.
Because in the mental health field, they don't talk about the helpers needing help.
Helpers need help.
So they don't talk about it. So it looks down on like, oh, but you're a mental health clinician and you're depressed.
Right.
So we don't talk about that. So I felt ashamed. So instead of kind of working through that, I just kind of like, well, let me put myself back into work. So I will tell my younger self back in 2015 to not prolong it. Go ahead and go through that process of grieving, because honestly, I would have saved myself some years if I would have, you know, would have took that on. But I just felt like I needed to work, and I needed to put on this front in front of everybody to say like I'm okay,
even though you were not okay. And this is why we call this episode "Healers Need Healing," right? Because she just basically said she was grieving, but it is shame. I've been told, I called out of work before, and I said I need a self-care day, and my manager said, "Well, who don't need a self-care day?" I'm like, well, I'm sorry, you ain't taking it, but I need one, and I'm gonna take this self-care day today. So we're shamed if we need time for ourselves. Because she said, well, you don't want to look like you have mental illness. I said, what if I I did though.
Right.
You would offend me because you don't know what I'm going through. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, thank you, Ty. That was good.
I would tell myself that burnout is real, so get ahead of the curve.
Oh my God.
I would make sure that day one, and can be either said or done depending on you as an individual. But day one, step into the mental health field, go ahead and have you some boundaries.
Yeah.
Set them boundaries up. Boundaries go for clients. Boundaries go for coworkers. Boundaries even go to supervisors. They go to the supervisor. They go to the owner. It go to everybody. Everybody can get the boundary.
You don't get a boundary. You get a boundary.
Everybody get a boundary.
Oh.
And you get to set those boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
You don't apologize for your boundaries. I would not be afraid to ask what my work is. One thing about me is I don't care what I got on paper. If I say I'm worth this amount of money, we got two choices. You can agree with what I say my salary needs to be. We can negotiate something in between, or I can walk away.
Yeah.
Like that's what it is. The reality is, when we think about as mental health professionals, obviously we're not in the field like engineering or tech or doctors. So coming in, even with a master's degree, when I first came in with a master's degree, I was making $18 an hour with a master's degree. That was considered a level up of $16.
Well, I started off making $14 an hour.
And when I first graduated with my bachelor's, I was making $12.35. That was with a 35-cent raise after being there for 4 years. So when we come into the mental health field, it definitely has to be a calling, because
it gotta be a calling.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
So one thing that I learned is, we would hear, money in the mental health field.
It is.
It's not, but it is.
It is. Yeah.
You have to. A part of it is you have to know your worth. You have to know how to negotiate, and you don't back down from it. So I don't care if I am a woman. I don't care if I don't have the complexion for the protection.
Mm-hmm.
I say, right. I say this is what I require.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one thing that I've learned is you can't allow people to intimidate you.
Mm-hmm.
You can't allow that.
Don't fear men in their faces.
And you have to stand up for yourself, because 9 times out of 10, if you don't, they're gonna lowball you every time.
Yeah.
And one thing when I learned, like when I realized this, I'm just gonna give it a shot. And I'm telling you, every time that I've tried it, and I'm not gonna lie, there are times I go in a room, I say numbers that I know is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I say it because in my mind, if I say a real high number, we're gonna have to meet in the middle some type of way. But if I tell you exactly what I feel like my worth is, you're gonna lowball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I had to learn. Like, don't be afraid to ask what you want, because again, I believe I have done enough good. God's gonna provide for me.
Yeah.
And I don't believe any of us are made to just have to struggle.
Yeah.
Just because you chose mental health field chose me, but because you're in the mental health field versus a doctor, so because you're in the mental health field, that's like a punishment. So you just got to suck.
No,
we're not. No, we're not.
You ask for what you want every single time.
We're not doing that.
Yeah. Wow, y'all, that was good. Okay, we almost coming to the finish line, y'all. So, mental health needs a facelift. If you were a mental health surgeon, what tools would you utilize to what did I say, y'all? What tools would you utilize to make mental health healthy again?
Oh, well, I would say first we need to add God in His presence.
Come
we
on.
need to put Him as priority, because honestly,
Can you
I don't
say that
think.
again?
Okay, we need to add God and His presence in the mental health field and make that priority. Because honestly, I don't even think that we did, honestly, because we weren't really talking about it.
No.
And some churches, haven't been really talking about mental health, and mental health is a real thing.
Yes, it is.
So that would be the first thing for me.
Child, I tell you, I love that, because I just feel like it's pointless to do mental health without God.
Yeah.
You can't heal without the healer, period. That's it. We're not healers, really. We're utilized as tools to help do what He can do with or without us.
Right.
And that's just what it is, you know.
And it's a way of doing that. And I'm not saying like in my sessions with my clients that I'll go in and say, oh, do you believe in God? Or you say, it's a way, it's an approach of doing things. And you know, I'll get things like if I'm in outpatient, if I'm having a client and I'll say something and my client will say, wow, I was just talking to my husband about this, or I was just listening to this on the radio, and I said that's confirmation. And I always ask God to use me, like speak through me, so I can help my clients.
Pray before every session.
Yeah, and even when they're struggling, and sometimes I may second guess my own self, and I said, Lord, just take control because I don't know.
God,
I don't know. And then half the time, the stuff that I am saying, I'm just going to be real. I didn't learn this in a book.
Come on.
I didn't learn it.
You ain't learned it in school. I didn't have to get $60,000 in debt to learn it. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Right.
That's why I say it really is a calling. God utilized school and all of that stuff to help us get the job.
Because that was a requirement.
But really, it really is a calling. And I want to say this. Before I go into every session, and this is to any mental health professional watching, or if you aspire to be a therapist, I pray before every single session. I say, God, show me what you need me to say to these people. Show me where I need to go. And sometimes I can hear myself in my head like, Holy Spirit, activate. Activate. And I'm like, I'm dead serious. I'm like, God, because this times I'm like, I don't even know what to say. God, you need to help.
Right.
And I'm typing on him just like that. Help me, God. Help me, God. Come on, give me. And as soon as they stop talking, it flows through, and it's like, okay, perfect. And the session goes well every single time. But in just my own will, no way. I couldn't help it. I don't know how. If you're a mental health professional, if you wonder like you're doing a subpar job, it's because you don't have God. I'm gonna just be honest.
Right.
I'm gonna be honest. This field without God is pointless, and that might be the reason why it's declining, just like the school system. But
Right. And I actually had a client to say, like, and you know, when I go into sessions, I don't give too much about myself. Like, I may disclose certain information because it depends on what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just not going in and say, look what's happening. I'm not, because that's their therapy session.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a client that said, this almost brought me in tears, and I had called both of y'all because I had a client that said, you had to go through everything that you went through to get to this point.
Oh my God.
And I thank God for you. If I didn't have you as my therapist, I don't know what would have happened to me. And I'm like,
God.
if she only know, I'm getting chills.
Oh my God.
She don't understand, like, I had to go through that grief. I had to go through that depression. I had to go through self-doubting myself. I had to go through the suicidal thoughts. Like, I had to go through that to get to this point. And I said, if I had to go back and do it all again, I would, just for this moment. Because there was moments where I prayed, like, Lord, please just take this away. But to get to this point, it was all worth it. It was worth it. And when she said that, I said, oh, wow, she don't even know half of the stuff that I went through to get to this point.
Oh, child. Yes. No, I'm serious. I'm serious. And I believe, Apostle, don't Apostle say this, First Lady? Something like, how can you ever learn to be compassionate if you've never been through things? So you can really work so well in this field. A lot of people, I just see some of my people who've been broken, like extremely broken, who feel like you're not good enough to help other people. Please get your degree and come in the mental health field. If you wondering how you can help somebody, what we saying, like what she just said, there's a lot of clients who will be able to relate to you based off of what you've been through. I'm done, rant over. What's your tool? What's your tool surgeon? What would you utilize?
Surgeon.
So I have 4.
Okay.
So one is therapy.
Okay.
Professionals, I don't care what nobody says. At some point, I believe everybody needs a therapist. And the thing about therapy, it doesn't mean you have.
Doesn't mean you got a mental illness, guys.
That's number one. It doesn't mean you have a mental illness.
And even if you do, it's okay to have mental illness because you know why you're gonna work through that too. But okay.
And the thing is, you wouldn't necessarily know, but there are mental health professionals who have mental health diagnoses.
Yes.
There are mental health professionals. You might be sitting across from your therapist. They pop their pill an hour before session.
They got anxiety.
Because their anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, whatever. So it doesn't mean you're crazy. It doesn't mean something is wrong with you, because these type of things, just like diabetes, just like high blood pressure, they can be managed, but they can't be managed if you don't face it.
Right.
So I tell people all the time, yes, I'm a therapist. Yes, I'm a mental health professional. I'm going to always have a therapist on retainer.
Me too.
And that's not something that I'm ashamed of,
Neither.
because if that's going to keep my life, and that's going to prevent me from jumping off a bridge or from doing whatever my thoughts can take me, I'm going to make that investment to myself.
What you guys go through.
Yeah.
And your passion's gonna come.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna go to somebody's house and you're gonna see this person that's really great, that really needs help, and it's gonna talk to you.
Right.
And then you're going through all the stuff you go through on your job. You're gonna go through when you need somebody to talk to.
Come on.
Yeah.
You can just like, okay, I take review classes.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm still breathing, even though my something. Even though we trust God,
Right.
but you need that person
Yeah.
to talk to.
Yes,
No matter what they're doing. You guys need that. If not, like you say, you can be jumping over somebody's food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna say, why did you give me proper help? Well, because you didn't listen to me.
Come on.
Yeah.
So you need it. I'm in what position you're in. How much money you think you need somebody to talk to?
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Man,
Because leaving ain't no fun.
no, it's not. It actually makes you angry, but that's another thing. Especially if you're not healing from it, but yeah.
The second thing is education. Bringing awareness to our field. So pretty much what we're doing tonight, and I know, viewers watching, you might say, Red, they like, this seems like a lot of messed up stuff going on in this whole field. And I hope that what we're saying is not like to deter you.
Right.
But
Please still go for it.
it's just to really, open your minds. And in some ways, not to say to feel sorry for us, I'm not saying that. But, one, we're human too. Like, yes, we're in a position to help others. Yes, we're in a professional field. But, maybe by hearing us, like, kind of just address the elephant in the room, maybe the world will have more compassion on mental health professionals just as in general, and have more respect for us.
Yeah.
Because that's something that is at times lacking. A lot of people don't take mental health professionals serious.
They don't.
And I've heard people say, all y'all do is talk to people all day. I could do that.
Well, then do it.
Try it.
Go ahead and do it.
It's a whole lot deeper than just talking. Like, this is not a walk in the park. Oh, I'm going to hang out with my friends today. We want to listen to some jazz music. It's a whole lot deeper than that. So I would definitely say education, bringing awareness to the field and getting the community involved.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, people just don't know. It's a lack of knowledge. They don't know about it.
Right.
At least the truth.
Yeah.
I would take a scalpel or some scissors.
Come on.
So we gotta do some real surgery. We gotta cut out the competition.
Oh my God.
We gotta cut out the work environment.
My God.
We gotta cut out the toxic work environment.
Ooh, child, go ahead.
And we gotta get rid of the negative reputations that is upon our field.
Yeah.
We gotta. And the last thing is force us. We have to deliver and bring out the gifts and talents that are in some professionals that are afraid to show it
My God.
out of fear of what that can do.
Yeah.
So pretty much how we were talking earlier, well, if I show that I'm good at this,
Yeah.
they might think that I'm trying to come from their position.
Yeah.
Or they might think I'm trying to one up them. So I'm just going to sit still and just kind of stay in this lane. But you really have something that can help,
My God.
that could take the mental health field to the next level.
My God.
So yeah.
I love it. Yeah. Oh my God. Good y'all. What question we on? We almost done, y'all. Okay. So please speak to the up and coming mental health professionals. What will you tell them about picking an agency, knowing their worth, and being whole before entering the field?
I have 5 points. I'll make it quick. Understanding that this is a journey. At times, you're probably going to question yourself, like, why am I really made for this? And that kind of goes back to the check-ins I said. It's okay to do check-ins, to do reflection with yourself. And if you're truly someone that's called to the field, no matter how much you try to run from it, it's gonna always come back to you. Number two, it's okay to question what's being told to you. I don't care what the position of the individual that told you something. It's okay to question. It doesn't mean you're trying to, be hostile. It doesn't mean that you're trying to have animosity. It can just mean you just want to know for knowledge.
Right.
It's okay to question. Do your own research too. At the end of the day, you're a professional, and things have changed since we've been the people. They're getting more stricter on mental health professionals. At one point in time, it used to be, if I as a professional mess up, they're going to come after the agency that I work for. Now, they're going to come for me. And when they come for me as a mental health professional, depending on what I've done, they can completely wipe me out of the field for the rest of my life.
And you can go to jail too. And pay money.
They can put in the database a red X by Charlicia Moon, and any agency I go to, it can come up in that data platform, make my background check, all that stuff. She red X, she done for the rest of her life. So it's nothing to play with. Make sure you know ethics. Make sure you know what to do, what not to do. 3, name your price. We talked about that in detail earlier. Name your price. No one knows what your bills look like. No one knows your situation look like, and no one can put a number on your work. Only you can do that. And don't be afraid to do that from day one. Name your price. Number 4, it's okay with not having everything planned out for your future. Mm-hmm. When I first came out into the mental health field, because I'm very hard on myself, I'm very passionate, I'm very goal oriented, and I'm driven. Mm-hmm. You tell me no, it's not possible. Okay, you told me no, 5 other people tell me no, but in my mind, one person's going to tell me yes, and I only need one yes.
Yes, come on.
But I believe that I had to always know what was next.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I've learned is life is going to throw you curveballs. Mental health, every day, you can be working with the same client. Every day is going to look different.
Yes, it will.
So you're going to drive yourself crazy thinking you have to have your future planned out, because it's not going to work. And the last one is work on your trauma.
My God.
Work on yourself. Because if you're not whole, you can't help your clients heal.
Come on, you can only heal at the capacity in which you heal. That's good, Mama. I love it. And you, Ty?
Yeah, I got a little something to say. So, to the up and coming mental health professionals and the generations to come, I will encourage them to pretty much ask themselves, is mental health a part of your calling or your purpose?
My God, come on.
If so, what is that burning desire that you have that you can add to the mental health field?
Yes.
Another thing is, what are those passions that you have as it relates to mental health?
My God, go ahead.
And then I have an activity for the both of you.
Okay.
So if you can just write your initials.
This is our friend who always coming up with us to do stuff. It's always in the picture with her. I promise.
A middle name, middle initials. Okay, so you wrote down your initials. Describe yourself using your initials. So, like for example, T for Taisha. So for that would be I'm tender, I'm thoughtful, I'm trustworthy. Mm-hmm. So you can kind of think of a ones for yourself and for the sake of time.
Okay. I got it.
Okay, so let's go. Okay.
I'm good.
Okay, so what are, if you don't mind sharing?
Jovial, I'm thoughtful, and I'm also a child of God.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Charlie,
For me, I'm sassy. Who's supposed to be all? Who knows this one?
Oh, girl. So tell me what you have there.
So I didn't get all S's because I'm just like that.
Okay.
But for S,
okay.
I had sassy, I'm strong, and I'm smart.
Okay. So the reason why I said to do that is because don't forget those words. Trust me, you're going to need them on this process.
Oh my God.
Because being in this mental health field, you're going to question yourself.
Yes,
you're going to question
if you're supposed to be in
right. Is this what God said I need to be doing. So go back to those initials, those words, and just kind of reflect on that.
That's so
And
good,
yeah, so keep that, and you can add more words to your initials.
Yeah,
Yeah, you have to get your other two, but let that be a reminder, because the words that describe you, I'm pretty sure it can help other clients.
No, you're right about that, because a lot of the times about the G in our last name, God, oh my God, I just don't know. Like, if I don't remind myself that I'm a child of God and it's about purpose, I don't think I would be in this field no more.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have to write that all the time.
All the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you got any more else? Okay, and the last question, guys, is imagine you're sitting with board members for the Board of Counseling, social work, whatever, and they ask you about a policy to make mental health better. What would you put in place?
Holding agency owners, holding supervisors accountable for the damage that they do to the workers, and how that can tarnish the field for future professionals.
Oh my God.
And pretty much repeating what we said earlier, requiring owners of mental health agencies to have to go through certain training prior to owning the agency.
I love it. So holding the agency owners accountable and the leaders. Yep. Because I bet they have to pay some money to treat us better. I'm playing. Go ahead.
That's how you really feel.
Right.
So I will ask if the curriculum of graduate programs can be revised. And what I mean by that is more hands-on trainings. Like, I know, like, we had to go through the practicum and internship, but for me personally, that didn't help me for the real world of mental health.
No.
And I just feel like we just need more kind of hands-on during this process while you're in school. I also will say maybe like a mentorship should be offered while you're in graduate school.
Yep, I agree.
For someone that's either they're further along or someone that's already graduated that doesn't mind volunteering their time to help out someone that's just starting off.
My God.
To kind of teach them the
I would be willing to do that.
I would too.
Yeah.
Most that's kind of hard. I feel like more funding should be provided to help students pay for school, because I know for me, I was trying to look for like scholarships and grants. It was very hard to find scholarships for me in graduate school that was geared towards my particular program.
Right.
Maybe there was some out there, but I just had a hard time finding.
Most of them.
Yeah. Also, another way of paying like for supervision, like there should be funding for that, which I think has already kind of changed a little bit because there's a need of it that the state is willing to pay for supervision now.
Yeah.
Also, extensive training should be mandated after getting licensed. So that's including like your ethics, theories, interventions, multiculturalism, specialties, and yearly tragedies. Like, unfortunately, it's always like a tragedy always happens.
Yeah.
So we need to kind of be discussing that. And I just feel like in all professions that mental health training should be provided, whether you work at a dollar store, a convenience store, if you're at a car dealership, whatever, like mental health needs to be talked about, and suicide.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. My God. Yes. Y'all got an earful tonight, didn't y'all? Oh, okay. Calls of action. So, before we close, I'm going to have the ladies tell me what are their calls to actions to mental health professionals.
So, fight for what's right. Y'all already know that's okay.
Fight
for what's right. Even if you're the only one that's fighting, stand up for yourself. Remember that your duty is to make sure that you have a clear conscience. You're not responsible for anyone else.
Come on. Yep. Your emergency is not mine, and I got to be able to sleep that night. I love it. What's your call of action, Ty?
It's pretty much the same thing. So if you have not done so, seek therapy. This will give you an opportunity to know how it feels on the other side of
Yes.
being a client,
Yes.
and also to address like that past trauma and other things that may haven't been addressed. Know thyself.
No doubt. So, okay.
Know your limitations and establish and maintain those boundaries to prevent like burnout, mental exhaustion, and compassion fatigue.
This is so good.
Request that time off during the year.
That's what prophet is telling me.
And last thing that I would say is to speak up, even if you're the only one that's going to speak up.
Y'all both said that. Thank you. Yes. So don't forget to share, especially with other mental health professionals or anybody who you know who wants to give the mental health field a shot, so they can come here first and know what really happens in mental health. I love y'all. Don't forget, we're gonna be posting more about the Whole Story Sundays conference, the Healing Ship conference, so y'all can get y'all tickets. I love y'all. Thank you for selling with us again. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Thanks, y'all. Y'all point y'all heart out. You